Blitz is defined as a sudden, savage attack. It is indeed all this. The effect is sure. The premise is simple. It's a basic, primal confrontation, man to man. No excuses are offered, none accepted.
Welcome to the latest edition of Longhorn Blitz with horns247.com.
Looks like a radio station.
Now, here are your hosts, lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers,
Pure athlete, yeah.
I transcend race, hombre.
Matt Butler,
I don't talk, man. I back it up.
And we are chock full of that, man.
Damn right.
and Jeff Howe.
It's still real to me, damn it.
And that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so.
If you're gonna blitz, come strong, but don't come at all.
Well, guys, we're here, at least as far as the spring is concerned. We got the spring game coming up on Saturday, and we're going to break it down from multiple angles here on this latest edition of Longhorn Blitz with Horns247.com. I am Jeff Howe. Not going to waste any time because we've got a little over an hour, between an hour and 90 minutes to preview the spring game, and we're going to do it, so let me bring in the rest of the team, and we will get started. He is the master of the soundboard, the drop machine extraordinaire, the man behind the glass, Matt Butler. How are you, sir?
Doing pretty well. I actually, just now, whenever I heard the Stone Cold intro, reminded me that we have not had your whole WrestleMania breakdown. That's normally when I get my state of the wrestling address for WWE comes through right after WrestleMania from you.
Would you like a WrestleMania breakdown?
Yeah, see, I thought you might have got into it last week with Deontay, but I did not. We did not get to the WWE. So.
No, it was wall-to-wall Deontay Foreman last week. And, Matt, I don't know what our numbers are like for that podcast.
Damn good show.
But it was one of the most well-received shows we've had
That
in
is
5
awesome.
years we've been doing this.
No
So
question.
everybody seemed to really dig it. Some really good information in there.
Yeah.
If you're on the iTunes feed, obviously you can go download that right now. If you're not, go ahead and subscribe. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. If you got an iTunes account, just search Longhorn Blitz, pull it up, boom, download it, and you can hear our near 90-minute. Well, we went over.
It was
90
no.
minutes. We
It was
went
almost 2 hours, dude. I
Yeah, it
listened
was
to
an
the whole
hour
thing.
46, I believe.
We went
Yeah.
almost 2 hours with Deontay Foreman.
Yeah.
So you can go ahead and,
it's
catch
great.
that. And we've got plenty of shows in the archives there on iTunes. Plenty of stuff on our SoundCloud page.
All the interviews.
If you've missed any of our old interviews, I mean, we've got our conversations with Jamal Charles, Lamar Houston's up there, Brian Arakpo, the 10-year national championship retrospective we did with Casey Studdard and Tim Crowder, which
Earl Thomas is up there.
with
I'm
all due
sure.
respect to Deontay, that's
Both
my
of them.
favorite show that we've done so far.
Really?
Yeah, because I think
Yeah, Deontay Foreman though is in top 3.
right.
Yeah,
oh,
I would
without
say it's
question.
top 3.
And oddly, I brought up
he
that
opened
show
up, man.
to Deontay because that was where we had Studdard walk in here and was like, y'all see
I
this
remember
Foreman
that.
kid?
Yeah.
That was during that episode.
That was pretty wild. I remember that. What Deontay
The
Foreman's
Deontay,
like a
the Deontay
freshman
one's number
in,
2, and
Yeah.
the reason why I like those shows, it's not just because we have guests in studio. It's I think the best shows, really the best podcasts, are kind of when the host just kind of lays out, which I tried to lay out as much as possible, and you basically just let the guest tell the story.
Storytelling.
Rod,
Yeah.
that's
Oh, yeah.
kind of what I do with you.
Storytelling, man.
You were an All-American on the 40 acres. You played. I just kind of ask you the question, lay out, and let you go. I think I assume that's what everybody wants to hear. I think less of me is good, more of Rod is better for the show.
I don't know about all
But
that.
well,
But you're right though about those guys. I agree.
yeah.
Because Deontay Foreman opened up to us. Like talking about the 2014 team
Yeah.
and the leadership. And
dynamic,
so
yeah.
you guys you wrote a couple of pieces about it at Horns 247. Like, yeah, it was a lot of good nuggets in there. And I come to find out, one of the teams that I thought he'd be working for, I think I might have mentioned it, but the Patriots
Yes.
brought him in like right after that. He didn't want to mention it because
I
that's
knew
not
about
his
that.
place.
I couldn't say anything.
Yeah.
I had to play dumb.
Yeah.
I had to use a wrestling term. I had to kayfabe you guys, act like I didn't know it.
Yeah,
but
I understand.
What was
Yeah.
the term, kayfabe?
Kayfabe. Is
that Latin? What is that?
I don't have time to
What is
go
a kayfabe?
I know.
Kayfabe. It's a wrestling.
Kayfabe?
Kayfabe. It's a wrestling term. It's when you know
Really?
you
You
try to
fake somebody out.
right. You try to keep it real.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
Like when Mark Henry comes in studio, if Mark's doing his World's Strongest Man gimmick, that means he's kayfabing. He's
So is that
he's keeping in
A
character.
play on words
I
on
gotcha.
facade? They just
I
changed
I don't
that.
know how the term kayfabe came up.
Speaking
but-
of wrestling, Kane's running for office.
yeah,
saw
Kane
that.
is running for mayor in Tennessee.
yeah.
Kane is one
He's gonna win.
clean-cut
He's gonna win.
looking
he's
individual.
he's apparently he's been. I know he's been in real estate for a
Yeah,
while.
he's gonna win. From what I heard, he is because Jerry Lawler ran for office in Memphis like 5 or 6 times, always lost. But that was way, way back in the day. Now, populist politics, Donald Trump, Jesse Ventura, that's kind of the in thing, and he's got a presence there. Arnold Schwarzenegger, that's a presence there. He's going to win. He's going to win mayor of that, whatever that town is.
I think it's weird. It's like the mayor of Knox County, Tennessee,
I think you're right.
is what he's running for.
He's going to win. And my thing is, do you distance yourself from your wrestler persona? Or do you embrace the wrestling persona when you run? Oh, you do both.
I don't know, man. I haven't come out in the mask and have Jim Ross there talking about hellfire and brimstone. And
I know that Jesse Ventura, when it was Jesse Ventura who ran up in Minnesota and actually has been in office.
He embraced it.
He embraced it. Then you have people that are like actors, like remember Stuart Smalley is Al Franken. He has not embraced it. He is very,
he distanced himself from it.
No, that guy is smart. So different ones.
Same
state of Minnesota, by the way.
He can talk about folks. He can talk about coverages. He could talk about pop culture. He could talk about whatever you want because he is the Renaissance man of the show. Let me formally introduce the third member of our team. Lifetime Longhorn, 2002 UT All-American, 2002 semifinalist for the Jim Thorpe Award, 4th round draft choice of the New York Giants in 2003. Spent his NFL career with the Giants, Lions, Bears, Bucks, Broncos, and a year with the Hamilton Tiger Cats in the CFL. But he was done with football. Got himself back to Austin, Texas in the 40 acres where he earned his degree. If he had a T-ring, he would wear it proudly.
I'm going to go over there and get it.
But he's a card-carrying member of DBU nonetheless. Number 21 in your program, number 1 in your hearts, Mr. Rod Babers. Rod, before we get started,
let's do it.
I want to bring something up, and I want to get your opinion on this because this is a kind of a broad football topic, but it filters back to the 40 acres. Phil Simms is out as the number 1 analyst for CBS's NFL coverage. Tony Romo's in. Your boy Chris Simms throwing Jim Nantz under the bus.
Chris Simms
publicly.
a gangster, dog. Chris Simms is a straight up sports gangster. Like
Chris Simms
does not care.
Chris Simms is the real honey badger.
He really
doesn't care about anything.
He don't give a damn. And Longhorn fans know this. Like he's throwing out. Remember that I don't know. I'm gonna bring it up. The $100
handshakes.
Okay, I'm just saying, I'm not going to bring up like how he feels about it, but he came out, I think, after that and was like, whoa. I wasn't saying everybody was getting $100 handshakes. I got a couple of $100 handshakes.
For what it's worth, Rod B has said on this show
I never got any. No, really, I don't think I was a good player now. Like, because now I'm coming out like all these guys are like, yeah, I got a $100 handshake. And I'm like, where was my $100 handshake? I was an All-American. Nobody wants to shake my hand and give me $100. You know what? Screw you boosters and donors. That's messed up. I played well.
I think
you're a good player.
Your benefit was the cafeteria workers turning the other way when you're loading up on chicken fried steaks in the dining hall.
Which I did do. Yeah. So that's a good point. But I will say this.
$100 bill, box full of chicken fried steaks. I mean, if you're asking me, one might just be just as good as the other.
You know what? Honestly, considering the women I was able to get back to my dorm room because I was able to promise them chicken fried steak.
There you go.
All right, and corn on the cob. Trust me, it paid off big time for me. But get to the point about Chris Simms. I will say this about Chris. He had a good point. He was right about that. Jim Nantz, because of what Jim Nantz is to CBS, does the Masters, and of course does their
NFL. And for the record, let me say, Horns 24/7, Horns 24/7, 24/7 Sports. We are part of the CBS Interactive family.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, I am a CBS Interactive employee.
You are really, yeah. That's a good point. Good point.
So my views do not reflect those of CBS.
No.
Jim Nantz, Phil Simms, or anybody else.
Nothing derogatory about CBS. From what I hear behind the scenes, Tony Romo. Okay, this is a big thing in television and in the sports industrial complex. Everybody wants to find a way to relate to millennials. How do we relate to them? How do we pull them in? How do we keep them interested? They don't really like sports the way your mom and dad like sports. They don't consume it the same way. How do we relate to them? From what I hear, Tony Romo, for some reason, those G scores and Q scores they keep up with, right? About the popularity of a certain player and a certain personality. Right. He really scores well with millennials. Like, that's what they want. So that was a big reason for the move. Like, for some reason, millennials love themselves some Tony. They're all homosexuals, just like me. All right? So they want to make that move. Now, whether that's going to be successful or not, I don't know. From what I hear, he's got to be better than Phil Simms because people hate Phil Simms. I don't know if people hate Phil Simms more. I don't know if NFL viewers hate Phil Simms more or Longhorn fans hate Chris Simms more. Like, I can't figure it out. It's just hatred towards the Simms family. But I will say this. Chris was totally right. Jim Nantz, they would have not done that. Jim Nantz said, man, I don't want Tony Romo, dude. I want Phil Simms. Yeah. Then they would have stuck with Phil Simms.
Definitely.
Because he was cool with the transition, that's why they went along with it. And that's all Chris said. He said, hey, Jim Nantz had to approve it. And, of course, Jim Nantz had to approve it. And, yes, they did Phil Simms dirty. But I'll say this. He was with him for like 20 years.
I was about to say.
Can you do 15 years? Can you do somebody dirty who was with you for 15 years? Like 15 years. It's not a marriage, all right? It's a business. Now, if I was with you for 15 years and we were married and I decided to go with somebody else and upgrade, then I did you dirty. Man, it's business. That's his job. And from what I hear, social media is what did Phil Simms in, because social media brought all of these negative opinions together in a gumbo.
I was about to say,
you know what I mean? And offered
that
it up
crowd,
to CBS.
the very
Yes,
loud crowd.
Yes, and everybody's like, he sucks. He sucks. Back in the day, people were like, oh no, if I don't know, Troy Aikman sucked, or Roger Staubach sucked, or Don Meredith sucked. Nobody would have really cared, because it would have been separate opinions, kind of lost in nothingness. Now those opinions are consolidated on social media, and now there's a big conglomerate of folks who really just hate Phil Simms' commentary and analysis, and that's what it really came down to.
And you add all those factors together, I mean, the ability to reach millennials, then those guys sound to be the crowd that was
that
most
hate
against
Phil.
him, and then all you're doing is getting the same thing when you went and got Phil Simms to take somebody's job 20 years ago.
That's true.
You're trading him in for the newer, younger version of himself. He's just the quarterback that's going to come in, look good on TV, and give some insight.
I just know you were at one time real close with the Simms family. I don't know when the last time is you talked to Chris or anything, but just want to get your take on that.
Yeah, no,
I think known the Simms as long as you.
I think he made a really good point about it. It is a big story, though. I mean, some people think that this whole thing is a farce, that it's a fugazi, that Tony Romo's gonna still end up playing football. A lot of Eric Mangini said it on the Colin Coward show. A lot of people feel like he's gonna end up. I think Mike Freeman of the Bleacher Report. They feel like Tony Romo's gonna end up playing football. This was all to get him distance from the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, I tell you who will be playing football for sure. That's the Texas Longhorns. They're gonna do it on Saturday, 1 o'clock, DKR. It's on LHN for those of you who – it's free, by the way.
Thank God.
I see a lot of people asking, like, how much do tickets cost the spring game? Nothing. It's free.
It's been free for a while, right?
Well,
when's the last time they charged to go to a spring game?
Never, as far as I know.
Man, what the hell people are talking about?
You have other schools
I'm just telling you, I see
media.
people asking, how much does it cost to get a spring game? Nothing. It's free.
I guess Donald Trump has really just got people freaking out.
A lot of,
you okay? You can go to spring game for free, people.
And Ohio State screwed things up for people by charging to go.
A lot of the parking lots around the stadium will be free. Maynard Garage and San Jacinto Garage, I know for a fact those two are going to be free.
For the record, Mac Brown was doing that too. Like, it's not
like,
no. Like, oh, Tom Herman did that, make it free. Mac Brown was offering free parking.
I'm just letting the people know, so that way they don't. I don't want to pay because I don't want to pay $20 for parking. You ain't got to pay $20 for parking.
You got to pay for parking. Take the bus to the spring game, okay? Let's go to the spring game.
Ride a bike. Take a Vespa. I don't really care.
It doesn't matter.
Just know you can go.
Ride share, ride Austin, fasten. Just get to the damn spring game.
Hey man, people talk about looking for cheap entertainment on the weekends for family.
Good point.
Hey, you ain't got to pay nothing.
That's true. Good point, though. I like that.
Get it done. So the Longhorns have the spring game on Saturday. Will either of you be going to the stadium? I'll be in the press box as usual.
I'm thinking about it. But since Longhorn Network's going to air it, it always is that like, hey, Longhorn Network's going to air the thing? Psh, I might just watch it on Longhorn Network.
Here's the thing with you, though, Rod. Even during the regular season, Rod B, you going to the game? Nah, I don't think I'm going. And then your lady friend always ends up dragging you.
I have to work during the games usually, and then my girlfriend wants to go to the games, so then I have to work before the games and then go to the games if it's a home game.
And she coerces you to go sit with the commoners.
She does. No, she wants me to. No, I don't get to sit with the commoners. I get to sit with these like really Hasidity folks.
Oh, you with the highfalutin folks.
Yeah, her people have like club passes and like North End Zone. Like they actually are Hasidity. I want to sit with the commoners. I'm a man of the people. But now these other Hasidity folks, I don't really. Me and them don't get along that well. We don't. I always often sit by myself and drink Bud Light.
Well,
watch the game.
And see, that's where games become either, for me, it's going for a social event for the fun, or if I actually care about what I'm watching. I want to watch
football.
I have to watch it on TV.
I don't want to talk to you about the last call. I don't want to talk to you about third down and what they should be doing. I want to watch the game and absorb it myself.
Right.
That's why I don't watch games well amongst other people.
I'm gonna let out one of Matt's secrets since the guy's no longer on staff. It doesn't matter. Matt, you used to get your tickets from the Aquino family, correct?
No,
every now and then?
it was from a different family member, but yes, somebody involved with the family. You could put two and two together.
Somebody else who's no longer in the program.
Yes, exactly.
I thought it was you would sit with the Aquino family. That's right. My bad.
His son punched a guy because they were talking about.
I didn't expect that story to get
told. Which one?
Keone.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
the one that was like a year below me. It was hilarious.
Yeah, because
he actually punched one of the guys from the Craigs Way tailgate.
Really?
Yes, he did. I was there watching the whole thing in the stands. It was the 2012 season, I believe. It might have been third, but
Okay.
it was all about the offensive calls.
I know
Very
Keanu.
angry at Harsin.
So
He was
let's
taking up
run.
for Harsin.
So let's look at the two notches in Matt's belt. Matt's seen Dwayne Aquina's son punch somebody out of the game.
Yes.
And he's been at South Padre when Ramonce Taylor had a fight that resulted in people getting pepper sprayed.
Forgot about that.
Taylor hit whenever,
And Ramonce Taylor's doing really well right now.
Yes,
for the
RT's
record.
doing really well for
in
himself.
in Central Texas. He's like doing really and
coaching
actually like
and stuff.
Testifying,
Reaching
testifying to children and kids.
Now,
and
Matt,
things like that.
you ended up getting some of that pepper spray, correct?
Yes, I got pepper sprayed from the riot that ensued following. It was Texas football versus OU in that 05 region. It was that year down at Spring Break,
I bet
South
that was
Padre.
good.
And, oh man, I mean, I've told the story like this.
I'm sure
at the
Texas
time,
won.
It was just a little black dude. I didn't know who he was at the time, but I was wondering who this little guy was, staring up at a dude like 8 inches taller than him. Looked like just a big old roided dude. Ended up being that Dusty Dvoracek defensive lineman for Oklahoma,
That's
I
great.
believe. Yes. And I just hear the loudest pop. I look on the ground, and it's the only time I've ever seen in my life. And I totally swear, the dude's face, purple fist mark, when he got up from the sand, you look up and his face is already swolled up, just totally shattered his orbital. And then everybody just went after each other. And that's when the cops and four-wheelers came up, and they had the industrial-sized mace. And my friend ducks down. The second he ducks down, I just see a line like a super soaker straight across the eyes. So, yeah.
That sounds like a scene out of Roadhouse.
Oh, it was, man. Coca-Cola Beach back on South Padre weekend, and it was just, and after that, it was like 15 versus 15. You just saw the teams go at it. It was
All right.
nuts.
That's
So, Matt,
awesome.
my bad for getting your stories mixed up. I knew there was an
great.
Aquina family story somewhere in there.
Love that.
But, yes.
That's fantastic.
Now I remember you telling me where you got your ticket hookup
I
back
like
in the
it.
day. So, Matt, are you going on Saturday?
I will be watching it on TV.
Okay.
Saturday's beginning NBA playoffs.
Well, there
You know
you go.
what? I might try to go. Now I feel bad. Now I feel bad. Now I
Let's
feel
get
bad.
Rod to DKR on
because
Saturday.
I criticize the students because remember when Tom Harmon did the student day,
Right.
Student Appreciation Day, and they had less than 400 kids in the stands.
It wasn't a
great
turnout.
outcome. Yeah, it wasn't a great turnout. So yeah, I guess I criticize them. I'm gonna try to go. I'll go. I'll just kind of hang out, sit in the stands, and just watch the game. Maybe me and my girlfriend will go. I got family in town this weekend, so I don't know. I might just try to
Go hang out with the common folks for a little bit.
I probably won't. I'll probably be that creepy dude, like off in the stands by myself, like with sunglasses on.
You'll
in
be
the
the only
corner.
guy in the upper deck.
Yeah, but I'll be like taking notes and have like a notepad. So I'll be that creepy dude. But I think I should go. It'll be my way of supporting Tom Harmon.
It's a good time.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go to the actual game.
There
I'm
you
gonna
go.
to the game.
We got-
that is my promise.
We got
to,
Rod to go to
yes,
DKR for the spring
my promise
game.
to the Blitz folks. I will go.
There
I'm
you
going.
go.
Yeah.
And if you see Rod will take a picture with you, sign an autograph, whatever. Right, Rod?
Yeah, what are you talking about? I'm not like a famous person or anything. I'm not. Yeah, what are you talking about? I will do anything somebody asks me to do, pretty much.
Yeah,
And you don't
there
ask,
you go.
Other than asking me to do
Anything.
something pornographic
Rod
or
will go
like
to
do
jail
something
for
like
you. That's how much he
X-rated,
loves the
I will pretty
Longhorns.
much do whatever you want me to do. I'm not that guy. Like I
I've
am
never
not.
heard Rod say no.
On the I think on the DB totem pole of like all-time greats at DBU, I'm like 25th or something. Like I'm not that high. So
I think you're top 20, Rod.
well, like 19. That's like 3 guys on campus right now. Some going back to school, some coaching that are already way higher up on the totem pole.
Hey,
than
man,
me.
I haven't seen him around in a while, kind of off subject, but I tell you who I've seen around quite a bit. The Sheriff, Stanley Richard, is coming back.
I've seen him around.
Yes.
I've never met Stanley or Sheriff Richards. Stanley, Sheriff Richards, I want to meet you. You are a hero of mine. So you're hanging out. I don't know where he lives now. I didn't even know he was still alive. I just heard about him.
Like-
I would like to meet Stanley the Sheriff Richards.
I see
I would've
like
heard about him if he
like
had
the
died.
like the
Hell
young
yeah.
like the younger reporters
I
when
saw
you
that.
go to practice, the younger reporters like, ooh, there's Aaron Ross, there's Michael Huff. I'm like, I know Huff, I met A. Ross, like I know those
Yeah,
guys.
but
But then I'm like, oh man,
Sheriff?
that's Stanley Richard, that's the Sheriff.
I mean,
And
I
that's
wouldn't
when
even
the
know
young guys are like, who's that?
I wouldn't even know if I saw him. I feel bad
I
as being a
wouldn't
member
either.
of DBU. I would not know Stanley the Sheriff. I know like Lance Gunn if I saw him, like Johnny Johnson. I have a and then Jerry. I know those guys. I do not know how Stanley the Sheriff.
We need to make
Richard's
the
up.
Stanley Richard Rod Babers meeting happen. at some
I'm just
point.
saying. I was
So,
like he was one of the guys my dad used to mention. Like
Yeah.
this
Sheriff.
guy's the blank. He's the shiznit.
but we'll talk about DB play and some other things as it relates to the spring game. But let's go ahead and talk about who's not going to be in the spring game. Now, we knew Chris Warren's been on the shelf for pretty much the whole spring.
Yeah.
Kirk Johnson's been on the shelf pretty much the whole spring.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Porter's got what Tom Herman called a slight ankle sprain. It really sounds like it sounds like he's been through 13 practices, 3 scrimmages. We've seen enough.
We're good, young man. Just sit down.
Yeah.
We got something. There's an injury bug kind of going through the running backs. We don't want you to catch it. We need to see you're good. Well, we don't. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. I'm with you. I got that feeling too.
Right.
Yeah,
so it's gonna be Tristan. I got a feeling if it was a game, if it was the OU game on Saturday, Kyle Porter would
be ready to go.
But you're gonna have Antonio Carter and Tristan Houston, 2 running backs that have kind of taken unconventional paths to get here. Antonio Carter's not even supposed to be here right now. If Nick Chubb and Sony Michel had left Georgia like they were expected to, Antonio Carter would be in Athens, Georgia right now. But they decided to come back. There was no room for him to enroll early, so he kind of fell into the lap of the Texas staff, which they were like, hey, we're more than happy to take Antonio Carter. Exactly.
Well, they didn't know then, but now.
Right.
You know.
And then Tristan Houston was a guy that we were told was probably going to transfer, and then the coaching change happened. He sticks it out. Now, this is the chance Antonio Carter and Tristan Houston both have to kind of audition for roles going forward. This is if they're going to claim a spot in the pecking order, this is when they do it. So, Rod, knowing that you're basically down to 2 scholarship running backs, and then your walk-ons, Trenton Hafley and Tim Yoder, those guys are going to get work on Saturday because there is nobody else.
Nobody else.
And Tom Herman said he got the walk-on running backs up in front of the team and kind of praised them. I don't know if it was after the scrimmage on Saturday or after practice on
running backs walk-ons love to get some praise. They'll tell you it's awesome. It's
but for the walk-ons,
they deserve it.
For the walk-ons, Rod, you know this better than anybody. For a walk-on, the spring game, it's kind of your bowl game.
Yeah, it really is, especially in a situation like this where you actually will get
right.
relevant reps. Like, you're going to get reps against, I don't know, maybe second team and that type of group because they just don't have the bodies. So, yeah, and honestly, I'm not saying that, walk-ons end up, making a huge impact on like a championship team, but we all see the stories, whether it be Michigan or Ohio State or Alabama or Texas or LSU, walk-ons who earn scholarship. They earn themselves scholarship.
Same deal with Josh Covey at quarterback because, again, after Sam Ellinger and Shane Buechele, there is nobody else.
There is nobody else.
Well, didn't we notice it was the first walk-on that I noticed, at least during a spring game last 5 years, was Dylan Haynes had a couple good ones where it was like, oh, who's that guy? Well, we'll never see him again.
When he had that interception off Tyler Swoops in the spring game.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And it's one of the things, honestly, and that's one certain things I get choked up watching on YouTube. You ever watch something on YouTube and you get choked up every time? Like dogs, those commercials where they, they're rescuing a dog from the streets or like anything. There's one that gets to me where they basically give homeless people like makeovers.
Oh,
and I get really emotional doing it. I have no idea why. Right? I'm like, I'm emotional. But one of the things I really get emotional about is when walk-ons get scholarships. I have no idea why. I just watch. Now I know I'm getting old. I watch like a walk-on get a scholarship and I surprise them like in front of everybody. I'm like, man, it's pretty good, man. Because I know how hard walk-ons work. Like, they work their asses off. They really do. And they get no credit at all. They get humiliated. We walk over them, talk trash to them. But they really are pivotal to, like, the practice. And even more so, just getting quality reps in with your guys. And this is a prime example of that.
I really wish, and this is not to disparage any of the walk-ons in the program.
I know.
Right
I felt like I'm hating on walk-ons here.
But I don't know. I really wish that the admissions staff at the admissions department at UT would give Tom Herman some leeway to actually have preferred walk-ons that actually might have a chance.
In Texas? Oh,
that
man.
might have a chance to help you.
Yeah, in Texas, dude, that's big. If you were if you weren't in Texas, California, and Florida, I think actually preferred walk-ons can end up paying huge dividends for you.
Bill Snyder built the K-State program basically off the walk-on program. You heard for years Nebraska's walk-on program.
Yeah.
Kind of fed that beast under Tom Osborne.
It's basically what undrafted free agents are in the NFL.
Pretty much,
You know what I mean? Think about if you get it like the Patriots. The Patriots have essentially, I'll give you a stat. The Cowboys and the Patriots, I'm not making this up. In the last decade, the Cowboys and the Patriots have basically had the same amount of Pro Bowlers drafted, same amount of All-Pros drafted, I think the same amount of like draft picks in the first 3 rounds. And people think that's crazy, but it's not. The truth is the Patriots have gotten more out of like undrafted free agents, more value out of undrafted free agents than the Cowboys. Think about how many guys that the Patriots have had, like starting from them, that have been undrafted free agents. That's the kind of value you can get from a program if you can turn a walk-on into a scholarship athlete. That's the type of mentality.
And that's the same thing that when we talk about, the first-round guys you aren't supposed to miss on. You're supposed to hit the lower picks on down. It's the same idea like when you see the Spurs in the NBA as an example.
Good point.
Amount of second-round picks that are littered. Like I was watching games where everybody's backup center is a Boban, a Jan Mahimi, an Aaron Baines, and they're taking each other on. Or you never even had room for the Goran Dragic's or all these other second-round picks that you just let go. And you even see the same type of thing when you get super value from those lower top tier, like a guy like Draymond Green is a 45th pick that Golden State did, where you're just getting the surplus value at where those guys are. So if you can build upon it, basically undrafted free agent, nobody else has that. If you can turn that into what ends up being the production of a second or third round pick, you're going to be just littered with depth.
So, anyway, expect the walk-on running backs to get some action. Expect Josh Covey to get some action at quarterback. So, Rod, given the fact that, the offensive line, too, is still a work in progress with, Brandon Hodges has been out the whole spring pretty much with academics, Zach Shackelford. I'm glad they went ahead and got his ankle surgery out of the way and just, because he had the high ankle sprain was kind of a recurring thing for him. So just boom.
He can play.
Right, exactly. You know what you've got there. Kind of patching together on the offensive line. What should fans expect from this run game against a defense that Tom Herman and Tim Beck and Todd Orlando have all said has been really hard to run against when they've gone live?
And let's not forget also something else that's missing that is pivotal for this Tom Herman offense. And when you can see it basically, we haven't seen the product on the field, but through the way that he is trying to acquire personnel, with the way he's trying to build the offense, tight end.
Yeah.
Tight end is I think it's more pivotal to Tom Herman's offense than we initially thought.
And Andrew Beck is probably going to be out because he re-aggravated his foot injury. He's going to go see a specialist on Thursday.
Didn't they offer like a JUCO tight end recently?
They've offered.
They got the
Kendall
transfer.
Moore, the transfer from Syracuse, will be here this summer. And then, they've offered a JUCO
They've offered a JUCO.
Yes.
And obviously they don't know how the Reese Latayo. Is it Latayo or Latayo? They don't know how that's going to turn out.
I think that's next week is when he's supposed to go to
He's
court.
got like his date, I think, court appearance date next week or something. So they'll at least, from what I heard, if it gets dropped down to like a misdemeanor, if they can get some of the charges dropped and some of it dropped down, he may be able to stay on his scholarship.
That's what I believe Latao's lawyer told the Tulsa World.
Yeah, because if it's basic state laws with felonies.
If it stays where it is right now, with the charges, there's
no way.
There's no way Tom Herman can justify bringing him back in. But my point is, tight end is really important to Tom Herman. And it is almost like, he calls his style of offense, his offensive scheme, like pro spread. Well, think of the tight end position as the connection and the bridge between the pro and the spread. And if he doesn't have that tight end position, then it's not a true pro spread for him. You know what I mean? Like, that's the way I kind of see it. It reminds me of, and if he gets his ideal tight ends for his scheme, I see that 2004, 2005 Texas offense ideally with a mobile quarterback to give you more running options, but also two legit tight ends that are 5-tool tight ends that can go deep, that can stretch the field, but that could also put their hands in the dirt and block, and we can go double tight if we need to.
And I mean, they're recruiting cats in that 2018 class. You look at Mustafa Muhammad out of Fort Bend Ridge Point, Malcolm Epps out of Spring to Caney. That's two guys that fit that mold of being 5-tool guys.
He's offered a ton of tight ends so far. What has he been on the job? 5 months? He's offered how many tight ends he offered?
In the last class, they offered, I think, like 6.
Yeah, just in the last class. They've offered a ton in this class. That's not including the JUCOs and all that kind of stuff. He is really obsessed about a lot of things, details. We'll get into that later. But about the tight end. So I'm concerned that the running game won't get where it needs to be because they don't have that tight end position. And that is the bridge between the pro and the spread. As we once described it, it's the bridge between the power and the spread.
Right.
It makes you a power spread, the tight end position.
So on that note, knowing that you're in a situation on Saturday where the quarterbacks are not going to be live,
in the run game,
nor should they be.
And you're not going to have great running backs.
Exactly.
And you're not going to have the tight end you need.
I would set the bar somewhat low for this offense on Saturday.
I'm glad you said it because I'm agreeing the same way. If people are going to be upset.
I would rather set the bar low and be surprised than expect something big and be like, wow, that offense, that was garbage. That was awful.
I think it's going to be the opposite because Tom Herman is an offensive guru known as that. So, and then we supposedly are no longer in quarterback hell because now we do have 2 young quarterbacks who are going to be competing for that position. So I think people are going to go in with high expectations, and I'm like you. I think the defense, from what I've heard, is ahead of the offense.
Yeah.
I think it will continue to be the case because of the personnel issues, and I don't know if we're going to have a great showing from the offense. I think you may get a couple of deep balls, a couple of explosive plays because the wide receivers are so dynamic. From what I heard, they can beat man coverage on the outside. Quarterbacks won't be blitzed or be touched, so they'll be able to loft up something really nice. I think that's how you'll get your big plays. Don't expect this team to have a identity yet in the run game. The offensive line has a lot of experience. I think the offensive line is one of the better offensive lines in the Big 12.
Especially that left side.
Oh, it's really, really
Williams
good.
Vahe.
But right now, you are so undermanned in other skill positions. I don't know if that offensive line will come out and be able to dominate to that extent.
Just look at it this way, Rod. If I told you going into the spring, I said, okay, you're going to have to, or just whatever, right now. But I said, you got to go play a game tomorrow if you're Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not going to have Chris Warren,
Nope.
Kyle Porter, Kirk Johnson,
Nope.
Andrew Beck, Brandon Hodges, or Zach Shackelford. Those 6 guys, you don't have them. What are your expectations?
That's kind of my thing. Like, yeah, I'm like, so and I understand though. I'm not like blaming Texas for this, but I'm saying if I were Texas fans, I think you always say so astutely, if you go into a situation like this and you're disappointed by what you see, that's a you problem.
Yes.
Your expectations were way too high
Right.
because you weren't knowledgeable of the circumstances. The circumstances are they don't have their top 3 running backs.
Yeah.
Arguably, maybe
Yeah.
2 of the top 3.
No,
you
your
don't
top
have,
3. You don't
right?
have your top 3.
You don't know what the hell's going on at tight end. Right? You have no idea.
You've got Peyton O'Quinn, who was recruited to play tight end in a different offense, and then Garrett Gray, who's a converted receiver. And I tell you what, the best guy I've seen when the pieces of practice I've been able to watch, Michael Wilson, one of the walk-on tight ends, might be the best option they have.
I've never heard of this guy.
There you go.
And somebody's like, well, does that mean he's really good? I think that tells you what you need to know about the other guys on
There you go.
scholarship right now and where they are.
And
in
you're
their
going to be
development.
missing your starting center. So,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So, like, I'm just part of the running game. I think the passing game will be different because, as you pointed out, they're not going to be pass rushing here. If
No.
Malcolm Roach comes around the end and gets closer to the quarterback, he's going to ease up and he's going to just fly by the wayside. They're not going to call that.
Did you guys see the Mississippi
blow the
State?
whistle.
Did you guys see the Mississippi
Yes,
State
my
spring
God.
game?
When you said walk-on earlier, that's all I could think of was that kid. I was like, he looked like a walk-on, and my God. he
Early
got the
whistles are a good thing in spring games.
Oh, did
Did you
somebody
see-
get hit? Somebody
Rod,
hit
you
the
haven't
quarterback?
seen that yet?
Canceled
No.
the whole- the coaches stopped it. Once this kid got laid out, they just said no more spring game.
Running
So
back,
what
running back
happened?
bobbles the ball. They blow
On an
the
option.
whistle, and it was like the echo of the whistle. Safety comes filling the alley and just tags this poor kid.
He's
Dan,
filling the alley.
Dan Mullen
probably
Mullen
didn't
called it off,
see,
so we're
like,
done.
when
He
you
called
look
the
at-
spring game off?
Yes.
So we're done. We're going in.
This
it.
kid got concussed. You look at him, he's
Wow.
about just going to catch the pitch. It's low, so he's going to get the ball. There's a lead blocker, so the guy might not have seen him, but like Jeff said, just filling the alley. Thing is, when he got through the alley, the dude's face was right there and just hit him straight helmet to
And
helmet.
think about this.
Shoulder
So,
to helmet.
so Tom Herman's been dealing with injuries all spring long, right?
And we've still got a couple more injuries to talk about.
And I know what you're talking about.
In addition to the ones we've already
In the
mentioned.
backfield, he's shorthanded at quarterback, does not have a third scholarship quarterback on. Running back, he's decimated with injuries. Tight end, we don't know what the hell's going on. Even offensive line dealing with injuries. I'm saying they're going to be blowing that whistle really, really early.
Yeah.
Or they will be giving the instructions early on. You come within 3 feet of that quarterback, and we're going to take you off the field, all right?
Right.
And you're going to get a good lashing by the coaches. So I think they're going to just be – it's going to be a really kind of what's the best way to – cautionary
Yeah.
kind of spring game.
So with that in mind, I don't and look, I'll say this. When you talk about setting the expectations low, if one of these quarterbacks or both of them had to have a performance like Kenny Hill did in the TCU spring game, did you see Kenny Hill's numbers for the TCU spring game?
What was it? Ridiculous?
3 for
Cartoonish?
3 for 9 for like 15 yards and 2 picks.
What's that say about the defense, I guess?
I don't know, but that doesn't say much for. I think we can officially stop calling him Kenny Trill.
Kenny Trill.
I think that no longer
I
applies.
thought you were
No.
going to say he threw for 500
You
yards.
can't
or
go 3 for
something.
9 in the spring game with 2 picks and be called Kenny Trill. That just can't happen.
Maybe the defense is really good.
I don't know. But if now, obviously, if one of these quarterbacks has a performance like that or both of them do, then yeah, that's something that
I agree.
Tom Herman would be not very pleased with that. But I'm not expecting either one of these quarterbacks to just, like you said, Rob, because of the quick whistles, because of the issues on the offensive line, the lack of depth at running back, I'm not expecting either guy, and with how their springs have gone, they've been kind of just Tim Beck referred to it, and I love this saying, it's like drinking out of a fire hose. They've just given these guys the offense, and it's like, look, just play hard, do your best. We'll coach you as we go, but here it is. Just digest it now. So that way, they're giving it to them now. So something we'll talk about here in the coming weeks. When you get to the player-led stuff this summer, and when guys are now going to be expected to hold the voluntary word are going to take on a whole new meaning. We'll put that in air quotes again. They're going to be expected to have the 7-on-7 sessions and all that stuff. If you think about last summer, it was just Shane Buechele kind of doing it on his own.
Yeah.
You know, nobody
totally
really gave him advice on what to do. It was just kind of like, oh, you want to throw? Good. You and Colin Johnson go, do your thing. It's going to be a different dynamic now.
Well, I think it'll actually help them because I think last year, as you pointed out, I think they were working on more timing and technique and ball placement and accuracy because it was a new system. Sterling Gill was bringing in a new system for him, even though he had some conceptually had some roots in that type of system from high school. So I agree with you. I think if you're looking at it now, like you want these guys to get as much of it as possible of the system so that when it does start the off season where the coaches cannot be involved, that they'll be able to direct and manage these 7-on-7s. And it won't just be working on accuracy and ball placement and the fade and where the slant route, where I'm going to place it. No, it'll be working on concepts within the offense. Oh, that guy was playing you underneath on the cover 3. Then you see why I decided to put it in the pocket and cover 2 in between he and the safety. You know what I mean? Like, that's stuff you want to be working on in the offseason. Not like technique and ball placement. Hell, you can do that in your backyard with a damn net and a tree. You know what I'm saying? What you really want to work on is the concepts and how if me and you, the wide receiver, number one wide receiver, you draw Hurd running whatever, the skinny post, if he and I are seeing the same thing. You know what I mean? That's what you really want to work on because that's what's going to help you as a quarterback, not the ball placement and all the accuracy right now.
Right. So given all that and the fact that it's been kind of an up and down spring for the quarterbacks because they're having to digest everything, I'm not expecting either one of these guys to just blow the barn doors off and just have a performance like Shane Buechele did in last year's spring game where he threw for, I don't know what it was, 400 yards in the 2 quarters that they were out on the field or whatever it was.
Remember after that game they said it still was a quarterback competition that we weren't sure. Remember that? Remember Charlie tried to tell us that. Well, Tyrone Swoops and Buechele are still competing. We're like, what are you talking about? Did you watch the spring game, Charlie? That's also when Charlie pissed me off. It's like, really? You think I'm an idiot, huh, Charlie? You think I'm stupid, don't you, Charlie? You think I'm watch that spring game and I still think you're going to start Tyrone Swoops. And if you do, you deserve to be fired. But
now one is leading a legitimate quarterback competition. The other one is getting ready for the NFL draft as a
tight end. And a damn, he might be a pretty good tight end.
We talked about it 2 weeks ago, I mean, that's no insult to Tyrone Swoops. I'm telling you, man.
NFL scouts are like, dude, this looks a good, legitimate NFL tight end.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious. Yeah, I've talked to a couple of them. Yeah.
That's a nice little tidbit there, Rob.
They like him, They really like him as a tight end. Not as a quarterback, as a tight end.
It's a good little nugget for everybody to file away. So I'm not expecting a ton from the quarterbacks in this one. I am expecting, I'm expecting them to have some big plays, as you said, Rob, because I think the receiver talent on this roster is just incredibly ridiculous. Sam Ellinger had a 90-plus yard touchdown to Dorian Leonard in the last scrimmage. Tom Herman did say he's encouraged by the fact that in the last scrimmage he noticed a lot more physicality by that number 1 offense, especially up front. So I think it's getting to the point where maybe some of those battles are kind of starting to even out a little bit instead of being so lopsided toward the defense. They were able to sustain some drives. That, to me, is what I'm looking for. How are your drives being stunted? To me, if your drives are being stunted by allowing a tackle for loss or an interception or a drop ball, that stuff you can fix. If it's by penalties and just blatant blown assignments and lackadaisical effort, that's the kind of stuff that's going to bother me. So my expectation is play as clean of a spring game offensively as you can to a certain point until the guy across from you is just better and he just made a play. If you see a spring game where there's a lot of penalties and just sloppiness, that's not going to do anybody any good offensively. Anything offensively that you guys want to see on Saturday, that you want to walk out of the stadium saying, yes, I'm glad I saw this?
I would like to see the wide receivers be showcased a little bit. I've heard about how deep they are. Hell, now reports are even that Lil Jordan Humphrey is looking good at wide receiver at times.
Well, I was told was the best on the field in the last scrimmage.
So if you're getting that deep down at wide receiver, we didn't even talk about Lil Jordan Humphrey last year wide receiver. We were still like 8-9
because it was a running back.
Yeah, we think about moving to the tight end possibly.
Right.
We talked about the show if they couldn't get bodies there. So I would like to see the wide receiver showcase. He said that they've had more. I think he puts all the players in categories based on off-season workouts, and he said the wide receivers had more champions than any other position group, and more than any position group that he's had since he's been coaching, been a head coach. So they're really, really deep. He's got Gerard Hurd there, even though almost 80% of Longhorn fans, including myself, were like, please, at least give him some time at quarterback. Let him split time at quarterback. He won't do it. From what I hear, it's because what they're seeing from Gerard Hurd at wide receiver is special. Like, he is legitimately, like, they're kind of he's a dynamic, game changer at wide receiver.
Yeah.
Even though I think he was kind of a game changer at quarterback too. So I want to see that group showcased. The quarterbacks won't be under pressure. They know they're not going to get hit. So I want to see some pretty passes deep. I want to see them beat some man-to-man coverage. I would also like to see them test the DBs. That's part of it too. I want to see them test DBU. They're not using DBU right now, which I agree with, by the way. They should not be using DBU. I called them DB Who on Longhorn Network last year. That's what they were playing like. So I agree with that, but I like these young DBs. I think they're athletic. So I want to see them test those young DBs. You may be talking about two of the deeper position groups on the 40 acres right now, those young DBs, those corners, and those wide receivers.
We had to do our staff question of the week at Horns 24/7. It was, what are you looking for in the spring game? I did a video for CBS Sports talking about this too, what to look forward to. One of my things was the quarterback play. I just want to see it be as clean as possible.
Yeah.
With like you said, sloppiness, ball security, all that stuff. Is it just bad passes, just misreads, where you're like, oh gosh, that was horrible. The other thing was the line of scrimmage battle, like we just talked about. Can this offense establish something against a defensive front that's been really good up to this point in spring ball?
It's been ahead of the offense.
And the third one, Rod, was big plays over the top. The receiver's ability to create big plays, but at the same time, this secondary's ability to prevent big plays. I want to see some interceptions. I want to see balls contested down the field. I want to see guys playing good bump and run coverage. Yeah. I want to see an improved secondary. Last year was kind of some foreshadowing because, yes, Shane Buechele put up some ridiculous numbers against the number one defense. Later on, we figured out why that was partly the case because the number one defense wasn't very good against the pass last year.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's indicative of
Agreed.
who knows what. You got to see what way you're viewing the team, through the offensive prism of success or if it's going to be through the defensive
That's why you got to look at it through
Agreed.
both. That's why I want to see some give and take. Yeah, I want to see Colin Johnson, Lil Jordan Humphrey, and Gerard Hurd, and Devin Duvernay make some plays. I want to see Brandon Jones get his hand on a ball or two. I want to see Deshaun Elliott be in a position to change, to end a drive, or have a sudden change with a turnover.
Agreed.
Or guys getting hats on the ball. A defensive effort. I'm not looking for much defensively except can you be more competent on the back end? And the defensive front, just play with good effort. You've been talking about 11 hats to the ball all spring. That's kind of been what Todd Orlando's been preaching, what Tom Herman's been preaching, what the players say they believe in. All right, go show me. Go show me in a game setting that you can get 11 hats to the ball more often than not.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, and I agree with that. I think, with this group defensively, I just want to see them make make plays. And I know they're going to get beat. I mean, that just happens.
Right.
And that's why I like Todd Orlando. He seems to have already kind of conceptualized the culture of the Big 12. Hey, man, everybody gets beat. Everybody's going to give up points. Who's going to make the most plays and get the most stops? And that's what he's about. So I want to see this really aggressive. What did Deshaun Elliott say? And I know they're not going to do this in the spring game. But he said he wanted to knock guys, knock their mouthpieces out. Like he wanted to be a physical safety. So
I've been asking guys in these availabilities of defensive guys, like, I've been asking the question, what do you want this defense to be known for? Because we talked about the identity crisis.
Yeah.
When people talk about the Texas defense under Todd Orlando, what do these players want to be known for? What do they want the hallmark of this defense to be? And all of them, to a man, have said just relentless effort and physicality.
Yeah.
Rod, I know that's setting a pretty low baseline, but a baseline of some sort needs to be set defensively around
Well, that's
here.
very difficult in the Big 12, though. What you said, based on the physicality and aggressiveness?
Just relentless effort.
Relentless effort. You can do that, but physicality is tough in the Big 12.
Right.
The point of the offense is spreading you out is to eliminate physicality,
Right.
to put your best athletes in space. Therefore, eliminating the physicality, eliminating your relentless pursuit, because you're out there. I'm throwing, wide receiver screens to the sideline, and your DNs and your linebackers and safeties got to get out there. So I agree with that, but that is tough to do. That's the point of the Big 12. The offensive culture is tough
Make
to
them
be.
work hard.
That's why we haven't had a tough-nosed, aggressive, physical defense since what, 2009?
Right.
Since Nebraska and Texas? Since last time the Big 12 was represented in the national title game? You know what I mean? Like, that's why, because this is all related. This is all related. If Texas wants to be a national title contender, Todd Orlando needs to prove that he is a head coaching candidate, that he is worthy of that kind of praise, that he's one of the best defensive minds in football. Because Texas, listen, it's not going to be enough for Texas to win the Big 12. If they want to be a national title contender, they're going to have to prove they have a defense as well. And that's hard to do in the Big 12.
Let me bring this up for discussion then. When talking about physicality, am I way off when I say that confidence breeds physicality defensively?
No.
When you're decisive, when you're confident in what you're doing, you can cut loose a little bit and be more physical.
Agreed.
Yep.
So
And
the physicality aspect, from my vantage point, it's not so much the can you bring the wood to somebody when the ball carrier gets there. It's can you be decisive? Are you confident? Do you believe in what you're doing? Like, Rod, we talked about it last year and the year before. There were so many games where an experience, I think, had something to do with it, but it wasn't all chalked up to an experience. Guys
Agreed.
just didn't look like they believed in what they were
Good
doing.
point. I
It's
agree with you
weird.
on this.
It's like a mentality for physicality.
Right.
Like you have to have effort and confidence.
So I think if guys are confident, if guys are decisive, if guys believe in what they're being asked to do, I think the physicality part of it's going to come. I think you'll see the physicality.
As long
to
as you have it already.
To me, I think the effort part is different. Like I said, on a simple inside zone play, if you've been talking about 11 hats on the ball, then you should be able to, boom, read that, get to the football. 9, 10, 11 hats on the ball.
You just said it, though. You got to be able to read that. So it goes back to kind of football intelligence, too, right?
That's a precursor.
Getting yourself in the right position to make that play and be aggressive and being confident enough in the decision that you made split second.
Right.
That based on the pre-snap reads you saw, oh, they're running the sweep, and I'm about to go blow it up. You know what I mean? Like that's so. I don't know if we saw enough of that. Remember the wristbands last year?
Yeah.
Right? Because the guys weren't necessarily sure what they were seeing in the pre-snap, and if the formation dictated what they were going to do. They needed the wristband. Nothing wrong with that. They actually improved defensively after the wristbands. But it goes to your point. They weren't decisive. They were hesitating a second or two to think about it. And if you second or two in a game of inches like football, hell, hesitating a second or two, that's it. That's done. You beat.
Especially in the conference that fast forwards football.
Exactly. So I think, whether you want to simplify it, from what we heard, Charlie Strong simplified things for them, right? Simplified things. They got the wristbands. So they were a little bit more decisive later on. I think it's also about the defensive coordinator, and this is why I give Orlando a lot of props early on. I haven't seen a lot of what he can do with Texas, obviously. We'll see more of that this weekend in the spring game. But he's already made some moves. He's already kind of diagnosed some of the talent, analyzed it, and said, all right, I like this guy here instead of there where the previous regime wanted him. Brecken Hager is a primary example, right? He's got Brecken Hager now playing middle linebacker when Brecken Hager was playing DN mostly and outside in Charlie Strong's system. And this is a guy that is, by all measures, just a freaking playmaker.
Nice competition there, too, between Hager and Anthony Wheeler. This spring.
But he's just a playmaker. Yeah. He's a sixth sense. He's got the instinct. He's got football IQ. He's around the football all the time. He wreaks havoc. You know what I mean? So it's like, well, moving to inside linebacker, we haven't seen it yet, all right, as Longhorn fans, but everybody who's watched Brecken Hager goes, you know what? That makes sense to me.
Don't surprise me. That guy, just put him wherever.
That guy, exactly, because he's got football intellect, football IQ. He's from a football lineage, all right, the Hager family. So I think he's going to be awesome at middle linebacker. But doing that, you also move Malik outside, all right? So you get Malik more in the place that we thought he should have been all the time, being able to work in space a little bit more, where he's going to be probably when he goes to the NFL.
Fit those
traits.
I mean?
Yes.
Brecken's perfect to be the most physical position on the whole team.
They got John Bonney now playing safety, something that we said should have been done a year or so ago. So there's some things being done subtly, and I don't know if they're being done intentionally or not, but my theory about the central nervous system of a defense, go back to that, all right? I've been had this theory for like 10 years. years that you have to have a strong central nervous system. Go look at the Manny Diaz first year of his defense. Go look at Vance Bedford's first year of his defense before they fell off a freaking cliff. The central nervous system was filled with NFL caliber guys, all conference caliber guys, and legit, like, ball players. And I think that's what Todd Orlando is doing, I think, almost unintentionally. Got Hager now in the middle. That's your brain. That's your IQ of your defense. He's got Poona Ford also playing the D tackle, who's, what I'm hearing, is an absolute beast and starting to figure it out in that 3-4 D tackle.
We talked about this before we went on the air and we started recording. Tom Herman would not be talking up Poona Ford if it wasn't legit.
He said if I had 11 Poona Fords, we'd be all good. You know what I mean? That's stuff you say about like guys like Casey Hampton back in the day. You know what I mean? So central nervous system, that D tackle. I know you can consider based on the nickel or whatever that Malik's going to be playing more inside in a nickel position than outside, or you can put nickel in there. But either way, we all love Malik. We all love P.J. Locke. Those are basically your guys that are going to be playing on side of whoever plays middle linebacker. I think it's going to be Brecken Hager. But those guys, P.J. Locke, hell, Tom Herman said he called his parents to tell him he loved P.J. Locke. He was so in love with him. And the DB coach, he's talking about P.J. Locke being the most consistent player last season. And then you have Malik Jefferson, who we all agree, hell, he could end up being a top 15 pick if he plays his cards right in the next couple of years. And then the safeties now. So Jason Hall gets hurt, but Deshaun Elliott, who we've all been really, really high on. We're just waiting on him to figure it out.
Not even him to figure it out. He just needs a chance because when he's been out there, he's been good.
Making plays. We agree. And Brandon Jones, let's be honest. Doesn't he seem like a natural playmaker? Doesn't he seem like the few times he's been on the field, he just makes plays? He's like he's a ball hawk. And not to mention he was like the number one safety in the state year he came out or whatever.
In the country.
In the country. Okay. So the central nervous system of your defense has been upgraded tremendously. Middle linebacker. And Poona Ford was already playing D tackle. But the safety position, which we complain about a lot, and I love Dylan Haynes, but I think these guys maybe are a little bit more athletic than Dylan Haynes and that crew from last year. So that's why I think they're going to be better, because Todd Orlando has made some moves, very subtle moves, to upgrade the central nervous system of the defense.
Just from what I've seen at practice and what I've heard from people who have been behind the curtain a little bit more, I think if there's one aspect of this team compared to the last couple of years that I think people will be blown away by, the closing speed and the athleticism at safety with Deshaun Elliott and Brandon Jones.
Big in the Big 12, man. You know what the Big 12 is? The Big 12 is about range, right? What's the point of the spread offense? To spread and stress out your defense. That's why Art Browse, and he's not here now, but that's why he was putting receivers out from sideline to sideline. So you need a safety that has range, that can potentially be able to get to both of those 9 routes on the sideline if he's playing middle field. And from right here, Brandon Jones and Deshaun Elliott have more natural ability to have that range.
It's one of those deals in sports, the safety position for football, if you're looking at it to me from a sports perspective, it's like in basketball. If you want to play a zone defense and you've got like a 6'11" post with like a 7'5" wingspan. Just put him in the middle of that zone. Good luck.
Good point.
Good luck getting close to the rim. In baseball, if you've got just a hellacious shortstop, your defense is going to be a lot better.
Very true. Yeah, and a lot of it's about length. I mean, okay,
length and speed.
Richard Sherman is talking about, he wouldn't mind being traded, and the Seahawks are opening up talks about trading Richard Sherman.
Which to me is insane.
I talked to NFL scouts, and Richard Sherman's great. He's awesome. I love Richard Sherman. Not trying to hate on him, but Richard Sherman he ain't worth if he ain't got Earl Thomas and Cam Chancellor as safeties. Because what they do is, because the range of Earl Thomas is so extraordinary, he can get to sideline to sideline, it shrinks the zone that Richard Sherman has to play.
Right.
So Richard Sherman is long. He's like, 6'3", 6'4"?
So I think it's insane for him to want out of that team.
Exactly. He's perfectly suited for that system they play, because Earl Thomas shrinks his zone. So he's only got to play, the best wide receivers for a certain amount of space. He knows almost to a T what space he's got to defend, because he knows if they go too deep to the post, Earl's got my back. You know what I mean?
We talked about it, though, like last summer. We talked a lot about DBs last summer. We talked about Richard Sherman, and I asked you, I was like, Rod, I don't ever see like Richard Sherman like backpedal and body up on guys. Like he's mostly just like shuffling, playing an area.
Sitting in that zone, baby, because he knows, like, hey, if you go 8 yards that way, Earl's got you. So you got to work in my zone, baby, and I got you. I'm long. It's hard to get around, and I'm physical. So I agree with you. I'm the same thing. I think that safety is the way they work the zone, and the Longhorns have what? Long corners. can shrink those zones for those long corners if you have the guy. That's why Cam Chancellor, he doesn't have the range of an Earl Thomas is a middle field safety, but he's got range figuratively. He can play linebacker. He's like a 6'5" safety. He can play linebacker. He can play strong safety for you. He can almost play a rush DN if you need him to. You know what I mean? So figuratively, literally, the safeties have range, which, in my opinion, it really does kind of reduce the impact of their corners. Even though Richard Sherman's great, I think it reduces the impact and the relevance and the importance of those corners. But the same thing with Texas, comparing it there. Those safeties have that great range in the Big 12.
Now let's throw in P.J. Locke as the nickel also.
Yeah, and I love P.J. Locke. He's my favorite DB in that secondary. It makes life a lot easier on those corners and those cover guys if they can have range over the top. I know because I played with Ahmad Brooks, who had great range. And he had no length. He was not long at all. Ahmad Brooks is like a teapot. He's short and stout.
But he had the speed.
He had great knowledge because he was a former quarterback in high school.
That can get you a tenth of a second.
Yeah, exactly. So he knew what that quarterback was looking at, and he had great range. He's a former corner, so he can get up and get on the good foot when he needed to. So he had great range. And Nathan Vasher, another DB I played with, played the safety. Great range at safety. So those safeties have really good range. They make life really easy on cornerback.
Just like Longhorn baseball fans, if you don't know what makes David Hamilton. David Hamilton's not 6'3". David Hamilton's 5'8", but his dad played college baseball. Incredible baseball IQ.
Yep.
And maybe the best range of a defensive shortstop at Texas.
Crazy.
If you talk to guys that have been around this program a long time, they'll talk about, he's like Spike Owen level in terms of being a defensive
Keith
shortstop.
Moreland said, he's the best defensive shortstop I've seen in college baseball.
And that's really impressive.
100%. That was Keith Moreland last night.
Think about that ball coming off the bat, and this guy basically in the split second knows exactly where it's going to go.
As a true freshman.
And what is the span between the first base and the second
90
base?
90 feet between bases.
Good Lord, man, that's correct. That's covered sideline to
But
sideline.
that's what that post in basketball, that shortstop in baseball,
You're
and
right.
those safeties in football. And Rod, to your point, the thing that I'm going to look for defensively, you talk about the central nervous system. Well, let's take Punafore out of it because, again, that three-man defensive line with Malcolm Roach, Punafore, Chris Nelson, those three guys, they have exceeded Tom Herman's expectations.
And remember, he was down talking earlier.
And then a couple of weeks ago, he said, hey, those three guys, I know I can go win with those guys right now. That's exactly what he said, verbatim. I can go win with those guys right now.
Yeah.
And you're not even talking about Wilbon or Elliott or Omenahu. That's a pretty damn good number 2 D-line, by the way, which is where you're talking about when is this spring game, could it get away from the offense? I think if you got that second D-line going against that number 2 O-line, which is really a pat. You've either got, young guys, it's either J.P. Urquidez or Gene DeLance at left tackle, Denzel Okafor and Pat Hudson on the right side, and then a couple of veterans, Terrell Cooney and Alex Anderson, who, let's be real, I don't know if you're ever going to get anything from those guys.
Yeah, you're right.
Against Omenahu, who started last year, Jordan Elliott, who might be the most physically gifted of that group, and then Wilbon, who just is strong as an ox and does what he does. He does his job and does it very well.
Oh, man.
But what I'm looking at, Rod, is you talk about the central nervous system. You think about this. You think about Malik Jefferson now on the weak side where he can play in space and cover more ground and be a playmaker, see everything in front of him and react accordingly. With P.J. Locke as the nickel, who's going to replace the field side linebacker. You say the nickelback replaced the field side linebacker when you're a nickel. If you're a nickel 90% of the time,
in
then
the Big
yes.
12. And he was the most consistent player in the secondary last year.
And this defense, every practice I've seen, when they've done things like pursuit drill or pass scaling, they've based out of their nickel package.
Yeah.
So P.J. Locke's on the field.
Thing.
And then, so you have those two guys with the two safeties, with Malik Jefferson, P.J. Locke, Deshaun Elliott, Brandon Jones. That is a lot of athleticism. That's a lot of length.
Yeah.
That's a lot of football IQ.
Good point.
Those might be your 4 best playmakers on defense.
That's a good point you bring up,
at 4
too.
positions where you need them.
Yeah, you look at the Big 12, you might be talking about because the Big 12, I always say shutdown corner don't mean what it used to mean. Like back in my day, man, you had a shutdown corner, you literally had a game changer like a Terrence Newman or even me back in my day,
like
or
one or
a
two
Quentin
receivers.
Jammer.
Well,
because there were 2 receivers out there.
That's the guy I want to ask you about. Where would Quentin Jammer's place be in today's Big 12?
Man, that's a great point. I think I'd move him to safety.
You almost have to, don't you?
You almost have to move him to safety. And he started out as a safety.
Yeah.
They moved him to corner because remember the big, the evolution was they started putting these big wide receivers in there, like the Mike Williams of the world.
Everybody tried to find the next Roy Williams.
Charles Rogers,
Everybody
the Roy
wanted
Williams.
that guy.
Yes. So that's why Coach McKinnon was like, nah, we're moving this guy to because he had to go up against what's the corner from the wide receiver from Oklahoma State?
Rashawn Woods.
Rashawn Woods. You know what I mean? All those big wide receivers. So that's why they moved him. But I think in today's Big 12, when you don't really have a shutdown corner does not have as much impact as it used to for a defense because there are 4 wide receivers on the field. Hell, maybe even 5. Yeah, you shut down a 20% of the field. Good for you. You was a decoy. Nobody gave a damn about it.
Right.
And Texas Tech used to do it to me back in my day. 2002 when Texas Tech upset us and in Lubbock, I never got balls thrown at me.
You
I was
wanted
out,
Welker, right?
Yeah, I was out there playing by myself, essentially with a decoy, some scrub. I don't even remember his name, while Welker's up there eating in the slot. You know what I mean? So I think because the Big 12 has changed, I agree with you. I think today you move a guy like Michael Huff playing safety means even more in this Big 12 today. You move something like Nathan Vasher maybe never moves to corner in this Big 12. Why?
And that's why it's so good to have a guy that
he
can
met nickel. Why would you move him
that
to corner?
multiplicity and be able to hop around as a DB? Because basically you're describing right there, and it only makes sense, the devaluation and how you can do it strategically on offense to devalue the best player of the defense. That's where if that player on the defense does have multiple position versatility, he can sort of counter that and maybe be the guy that they can still have you shadow. But it's almost impossible to find a collegiate corner that can go from being a slot to a corner and go around. It's really tough. Skill sets are just limited there.
Safety and nickel is what I would prioritize if I was a DB coach in the Big 12. I mean, think about
as many of them as possible.
Devontae Davis and Houghton Hill, we thought they'd be shut down corners on the outside. Hell,
And by the way, Devontae Davis is out of the spring game, too, with a shoulder injury.
So they have done really nothing for us as a shutdown corner. But people don't play man like they used to back in the day. We played cover 1 75% of the time. Now
everybody's playing some version of quarters coverage.
Yes, exactly. Quarters, or it turns into a third, or it turns into man zone. But you're right. It's almost like you're offering up your defense on a platter if you just go out there and play man 75% of the time. Because who has 4 or 5 DBs? 4 or 5 DBs that can all go man.
Right.
Nobody does. You got like 1 or 2 guys that can play man.
This isn't 2001 Texas
It
secondary.
ain't. Or 2001, 2004 or 5 Texas secondary where Terrell Brown's playing one corner. Who's playing the other corner? Cedric Griffin's playing another corner. Aaron Ross is on the bench, by the way. All right, a Thorpe Award winner. Michael Huff is playing a safety. Michael Griffin's playing another safety. And Marcus Griffin, Michael's brother, is just like in the nickel package.
And then
that
Jake Telson
secondary
had to become a linebacker.
That secondary can play man across the board. But who the hell has, 3, 4 NFL players, Thorpe Award winners, and first-round, second-round draft picks in your secondary? Nobody these days. Well, hopefully Texas will in the future, but not right now.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they would need now. When we're talking about spring game and stuff for us to see stand out, it really wouldn't be anybody specific, but I've noticed like the last 5 years, I've seen games where it's just like nothing stood out to you. I want to be able to see a player or two that really looks like he's accelerating past his peers. Like there's one guy or 2 or 3 guys there like, oh, damn, I didn't expect him to be able to do that or see him dominate their opponents. Because, I can think back to 2011 on. Every spring game is sort of just pedestrian, and there's been a few times where you've seen a few players stand out. Bouchel last year. Other times that we've seen running backs stand out and stuff like that. But if you can get a player or two to stand out on spring game day, then it's something to look forward to, because everything else, it's sort of going to just be mundane.
Well, let's be honest. So we do have these spring game superstars who have great spring games.
Deshaun Hales.
And then we never hear about them during the regular season.
There are a handful of those.
There are a lot of spring game superstars, as we call them. But I feel you, because there are certain guys that I'm just watching during the spring game.
Mm-hmm.
Offense is like Devin Duvernay I'm watching.
Yeah.
I'm going to be watching Gerard Hurd at wide receiver because I want to see if he's that dynamic. Colin Johnson, I've heard a lot about it, wide receiver I want to hear. But on defense, what about, I want to see the secondary, a lot of the guys in the secondary. Malcolm Roach, and I know he's not going to be able to make any big plays. He's playing on D-line. But, man, I've heard that he is unblockable. He's unblockable.
It seems
I've heard he's unblockable, basically. Like that none of the guys can block him in the spring.
Jeffrey McCullough is the guy I want to see on defense because I think that position, that B-backer position, I asked Tom Herman about it a couple of weeks ago, and he said that's the position that's going to allow – they're going to be as multiple as they can be based on what they get out of that B-backer spot. And when you've got Nashawn Hughes there, who we all agree, Nashawn Hughes has been a good player. Can he take the next step to be one of the upper-tier players in this conference?
We've been having that discussion for like 3 years about Nashawn Hughes.
Correct,
right?
But we're still having it.
That's right. My hype is sort of
because
went
he's
down.
still here, so, until until he either proves it or somebody takes his job from
But
him.
like this, the coaches that come in, they love Nation Hughes. Charlie
yes.
Strong and Vance Bedford, they love Nation Hughes.
Even when Max-
and this group coming in, they love Nation Hughes.
That's why I love Roach and Hager even more, because they love him. They sort of replaced him as the popular guy.
I love me some Roach.
When Max staff got here, they were like, man, we got to steal with this guy.
I remember them saying that. I remember hearing like, man, I've been hearing about Nation Hughes for 2 different coaching staffs who are now gone.
Three different staffs.
Well, 3 different
Max
staffs now, but two of
Charles
them that no longer here. So I'm just
So
saying.
were those guys wrong, or is this guy right?
No. I think they're right. Like he's got something. Like he's like Mikael Thompson. You know what I mean? Remember I told you about Mikael Thompson, Dwayne Aquino? Dwayne, he was like, he's a Thorpe Award candidate. This guy is special. And I was like, man, really? I don't see it. But obviously the New York Giants saw it, so he is kind of special. You know what I mean? So I think Nation is the same way. Like people think he's special because of the measurables.
When I talk to people around the Big 12 and get feedback from Big 12 staffs, and you ask about Texas personnel, you ask, what do you think about this guy? It usually evolves into some form of, I tell you what, really, man, that Hughes kid's got something.
Yeah.
I really like that Hughes kid.
They do. They like the Hughes kid. Is he a senior this year?
Yeah, 5th-year senior.
I can't. I'm like, what is happening? All right. So Nation Hughes is still competing for the spot. I don't think he's going to win that spot.
But
Can you pull a Shipley? Can you pull a Scapes? Come out for his last year?
When does that happen on defense, though? That's a good point. When does that happen? When is the John Harris, Bo Scapes?
The Russell Gaskamp Award.
Yes.
When does
When
it go
does
to a
that happen?
defender?
When do we say that on defense on the
think,
40 acres? Like we always say it on offense. It's on offense like every other year.
Probably Chris Whaley.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was a good one. And he got hurt his senior year. He didn't make it through the whole senior year. It doesn't happen on defense often, is my point. Usually on defense, you see a guy trending. He doesn't just blow up. Oh, yeah, I'm here, baby.
as a senior.
Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. Like, no, we saw it coming. On offense, you don't see John Harris coming. Like, he came out of nowhere.
If it wasn't John Harris in 2014, it might have been Mikael Thompson as that guy that just kind of like,
Mikael Thompson did because he played like all, like, 3 positions. He played safety, corner, and nickel, I think, that year.
He ended up getting drafted.
By the Giants. No. That's what I was like. Mikael Thompson, I was wrong because Coach Aquino was right. I mean, Coach Aquino was like, this guy is talented. He's talented. They're going to love it. And apparently the Giants agreed. He got drafted before Quandre Diggs.
And isn't it?
Did he get drafted before Quandre?
Yes.
He got
was
drafted
the 6th
before.
round pick.
People don't understand this. He got drafted before Quandre Diggs. 4-year starter on the 40 acres.
And
Quandre
Jammer's
Diggs is a
little brother.
baller. We all agree. Baller. Mikael Thompson, we complained about him 3 out of 4 years. He was drafted ahead of Quandre Diggs. That's what the draft is all about, ladies and gentlemen. Potential, upside. And that's why Coach Aquino kept talking up Mikael Thompson. You know why he was talking up Quandre? Quandre was starting since he was a freshman. You know what I mean?
Isn't there some sort of sweet irony, Rod, in the fact that the organization that once took a chance on Rod Babers with the 123rd overall pick in the 2003 draft wound up drafting Mikael Thompson?
No, I hate no Mikael Thompson. Mikael Thompson deserved that draft pick. I'm glad he's doing well. I think he got hurt. He's recovering from injury. My point is that it's just strange that, you know, we all agree like Quandre is a better player.
Different GM drafted him with the Giants though. Ernie Accorsi drafted you, and then probably like he wasn't in the game that much longer after that.
You said I ended his career. Oh, you drafted Babers? What the hell, man? You're fired. Get out of here. You're an idiot.
Yeah, last time I saw that guy, I think was on that Elway 30 for 30.
Ernie Accorsi was with the Giants through 2007. So he's there.
He's respected. He's not like what's the?
He got out right before they got the ring.
He's not Matt Millen. Is my point. Why have I been associated with these bad GMs? Like while I was my NFL career.
Ernie Accorsi is a great GM. Matt Millen though.
Matt Millen was terrible. He was a terrible GM, but I loved Matt Millen. He was a good guy. He was a terrible GM, though.
Yeah, Matt Millen got you checks, and Roy Williams should thank you for the
Charles
line.
Rogers? Remember he drafted Charles Rogers?
But from what you've told me, Roy Williams should thank you for the Lions drafting him when they did.
He was, because I think the Lions would have passed on. Because remember they drafted Charles Rogers the year before.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just me. It was me, Corey Redding, Sean Rogers. We are all on that team at one time with the Detroit Lions when they draft Roy Williams. And we're all telling them, dude, you have to draft Roy Williams. Because we're watching Charles Rogers, we're like, Charles Rogers, this guy. And we're not telling him Charles Rogers sucks. So we're like, if you drafted that guy, like, I think he was like
overall.
Second overall, we're like, dude, Roy Williams is 10 times better than that guy. Like, we all were saying it, and we all agree, like, he's way better than Charles Rogers. We were right about that. He was way better than Charles Rogers. He just didn't turn out he wasn't like an all-pro.
Charles Rogers was the number 2 overall pick. With the number 3 pick, the Texans took Andre Johnson.
He was terrible. Oh, man. Charles Rogers. I love Charles Rogers, but he loved
Tinu was after that.
he loved marijuana too much, and he would I would hang out with him a lot because we were both hurt at the same time.
Yeah,
He was always hurt.
rehab
So
and go kick
we
it.
hung out the entire probably the 03, 04 season. We hung out a lot. Me and Charles Rogers got really, really close. I think he's in jail right now, actually.
He did get in trouble.
He got in trouble not too long ago. But he was a really cool dude. But he didn't give a damn about football. He didn't give a about football. They
That
paid
might
him
have
on
been
him.
the
He's one of the few
Lions'
guys that got paid and was cool. And they drafted him 50 miles away from where he grew up.
Yeah,
He
in
was-
Michigan State.
He was done. He
Yeah.
had no shot. He had no chance.
That sounds like a common theme, though. With
And he wasn't
some-
that good, though. I'm swearing. I'm not hating
They
on him.
just saw range.
Rashawn Woods was better than he was. Easily. Was better than I don't know why I thought Charles Rogers was going to get some scrub DBs in the Big Ten because he was not that great.
And then in that
That's a
same
perfect
draft,
example.
to bring it full circle, you go down to the 4th round, and there's Rod B, 123 to the Giants.
I know. People say the same thing about me. He won. I don't know why they drafted that guy. That guy sucked. So I can say what I want about Charles Rogers.
And then the
because somebody somewhere said the same thing about Rod B. Man, that guy was terrible.
And then the Niners took Brandon Lloyd, and then that Giants reporter from Bleacher Report threw you into the bus. It's one of the worst Giants draft picks in the last 20
Hey,
years.
screw that guy, man. Okay. I don't know who that guy was. He's right, but screw that guy.
Rod B, there was quite a few.
They drafted Willie Joseph in the first round that year I was there, and he was terrible.
Willie Joseph.
He busted out. He's from Miami. I think he
From the
busted out of the league, too. Yeah.
Rod B, I'm just looking at the guys they drafted that got drafted after you, man. Ike Taylor got drafted 2 picks after you. He was in the league for a long time.
Yeah.
Robert Mathis was a Pro Bowl defensive player. Dave Deal was a Pro
I like
Bowler.
that I graded out better
Dan
than those
Coppin
guys.
was a Pro Bowler.
That's cool that I
David
graded.
Deal,
He's
he's
O-line,
Coughlin.
right?
Yeah.
Hank Milligan was a Pro Bowler. Cato June, Pro Bowler.
That's good that I graded out
David
better than-
Tyree, drafted after Rod B.
Well, David Tyree. Come on. David Tyree was not a Pro Bowl. David Tyree is out of the
he
league.
has-
He was
he's
out
a
of the league
one-hit
the same
wonder.
time I was out of the league. He had one great. And I love David Tyree. David Tyree actually took me to my first barber in New Jersey because he was from New Jersey. He was
that's lucky for
Montclair.
him.
Yeah, he
He's
was from New
forever
Jersey.
just
so
from the
when
helmet
I got
thing.
drafted to the Giants, I hung out with him a ton because he was from New Jersey and I lived in Jersey at the time. So me and David Tyree were really, really cool. But he's kind of homophobic. Remember he said, no, he did. Remember I didn't make
Yes,
this up. He got in trouble with the Giants because he was working for the Giants and said something homophobic. He really did.
As
He
an
was-
employee.
Yeah, he was an employee
after
and
he
said something
retired.
about he didn't believe in gay marriage or something that was against God's will. I don't know what he said. Something crazy.
He went
But,
Tim
yeah.
Hardaway.
He was, yeah. It was not totally as hateful.
Okay,
as
not as full.
But he was a little homophobic, but really nice. If that makes any sense.
Yes.
He's like Chick-fil-A.
It's a
Chick-fil-A.
two-face.
He's Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is awesome. Great
Yes.
nuggets, awesome, but they're a little homophobic.
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A is homophobic. They tell you any day they don't believe in gay marriage.
Yes, they'll
But
tell it to your
those,
face.
those little bigoted bites of joy, hell, I buy them all the time. They're awesome.
In freedom form.
Just threw that in my Google machine.
David
Freedom
Tyree.
form. No, David Tyree. I think he was out of the league in 2008, 9, something like that. Did you? Are you looking for the homophobic rant?
Yes.
Don't look for that.
Yes, we don't want to bring it back up.
Yeah, I don't want to bring it back up.
I totally agree.
Oh yeah, no, that's I see. If
You see it?
if you just throw that in your Google machine, you'll find
Yeah,
it.
yeah, no,
So
I
if you're
I
interested.
wasn't trying to demean him or anything.
No,
He's
no.
a good. That's what I'm saying. He's
no,
a good guy.
Rod's, I'm just saying you're not making stuff
He's
up.
a. No,
It
I'm
really
not, I don't
happened.
make stuff up. I really don't. Everything I say.
Here's something else that's not
fact.
made up. As we get ready to close this thing out.
Really, we're almost done.
Would you like to know, Rod, in your draft class?
Uh-oh. This is not gonna be
notable. This really brings the thing full circle.
Undrafted guys.
Who one of the undrafted free agents in your draft class?
This is
was?
good because this doesn't make me feel bad because everybody missed on this guy.
How about Tony
I was
Romo?
about to say that.
No, dude. Oh man. How about this, dude? If I would have stayed with the Giants, and I guess Tony Romo didn't play till 06, 07.
Right.
Damn it. So I would have stayed with the Giants basically for 3 or 4 years, but I could have got a chance to pick off Tony Romo. I probably would have dropped the pick.
And prove that you were that much better than he was because you were drafted in the 4th round.
Hey, Tony Romo, I used to be better than you, brother. How you
According
like
to
that?
some random GM.
According to some random a-hole GM,
Yeah,
The
who
NFL
probably is unemployed now.
The National Football League once thought that much
Yes.
more of Rod Babers than Tony Romo.
Oh, that's
So take that to the bank, Rod.
I like that.
There it is. You've been looking for something to validate your NFL career.
That makes me
There
feel
it is
good.
right there.
That makes me feel good about myself.
Yeah, it should.
Yeah.
Print that on a business card, carry it around.
I was drafted ahead of Tony Romo because he wasn't drafted.
Yeah, boom. Roasted. Matt, thanks for everything, man.
Oh, you're more than welcome.
Rod B, appreciate the time and knowledge.
Anytime, bro.
Travis over there with no headset or microphone, thanks for videoing this. Everybody, don't forget spring game Saturday, 1 o'clock, DKR.
I'm going. I'll be there.
Rod will be there. Look for him.
Stop him in the streets.
Matt won't be there, so don't look for him. I'll be in the press box. If you see me, holler at me. For Matt, for Rod, for Travis, for everybody at AM 1300 The Zone, AM1300thezone.com, where you can hear this podcast each and every week. And thanks to Matt, you get us on iTunes, TuneIn, SoundCloud, or any podcast app.
Yep, just type in Longhorn Blitz.
For the Zone family, for the Horns 24/7 family, and for the fact that the NFL once viewed Rod in a more positive light than Tony Romo.
That's right.
I am Jeff Howe. Thank you so much for downloading and listening. We will catch you again on the next episode.
You've been listening to Longhorn Blitz with horns247.com. Remember, for the latest Longhorn news 24/7, visit horns247.com.